Hi, and welcome to All the Woo A to Z. We're your hosts, Suzanne.
And Mychal, and this is season 2. Hello, I'm Mychal, and I am getting ready to get back on the road again.
I'm Suzanne, and I am still in an astrological traffic jam.
Yay! This is All the Woo,
A to Z.
and as always, we ask you to join us at our non-judgmental table where we share our own experiences and understandings on these topics, and at the very least, hope that you are entertained.
And so tonight we are S for Soulmates.
Soulmates!
So what are we drinking that's perfectly paired for all eternity?
Wow, that's a lot of pressure.
Especially with tariffs now.
Yeah, it's soulmatey. Okay, well, so with wine and with grapes in general, there are certain grapes that always have a tendency to grow together just because they're
An affinity.
and they are kind of simpatico as far as blending is concerned. So you'll normally see them grown together and blended together.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of those examples is going to be Sauvignon Blanc and Semillon. And
Yum.
and there are some, I'm going to say domestic. There are some U.S. Sauvignon Blancs that do have some Semillon in there that you may not necessarily know.
Mm-hmm.
There's not as many of those, granted. The place, though, that's really known for doing this and has like a real good rep when it comes to doing this is going to be, again, France. Sorry.
No, just as an excuse to travel to France.
That's true. My only reason for saying sorry is that I know I've been having a lot of French wines, but let's be real, they make a lot of wines. So it's nothing against anybody else.
They could be known for it. Yeah.
Yeah, they are a little known for it. So today we are having Chateau Carbonnieux, which is a Pessac-Leognan, which is fun to say. And this comes from the Bordeaux region of France. And it is a blend of, I'll give you the exact breakdown here. They have this vintage as being 65% Sauvignon Blanc, 35% Semillon. And what's nice about Semillon is it can give Sauvignon Blanc a little bit more body. It can bring it down to earth, right? Has kind of an earthy quality. And especially if a wine has more Semillon than Sauvignon Blanc in it, it can be super earthy. And the Sauvignon Blanc just give it a little hint of citrus and fruit. So what's nice for the Chateau Carbonneau, the reason why I love it so much, I have had the experience of that kind of, I call it stone fruits, but peaches, apricots and peaches that come through so strongly in it. And I kind of say it's a little bit like peach juice. It's really, really good. And so the earthiness that the Semillon brings to it really just balances it out. As we were speaking not long ago, that balance is kind of the key to good quality wine. And so they do a really good job of having these two allow each other to sing together. And so they are kind of soulmates.
And that's a great explanation in some ways for soulmates of coming together and helping the other person really sing.
Yes.
And so we want to initially clarify that soulmates are not just romantic partnerships.
Yeah, no.
They are people who you have made a deal with throughout time.
Yeah.
That, you know what, I'm going to be there, so we could break into the friend song. I'm going to be there for you.
Yeah. Whether you like it or not. Let's also put that out.
Sometimes not going to be, quote unquote, on your side, but going to be the person who encourages you, forces you, corrals you, pressures you, supports you. I've already said that. Into change.
Yes. So that could be a friend. It could be an enemy or a frenemy. It could be a teacher. It could be any number of like somebody who is very important and it's kind of a destined relationship in your life. And it doesn't always have to be like we were saying a romantic one. So yes.
So the question that I think all our gentle listeners would want to know, Mychal, are we soulmates?
I believe we are. I think Suzanne knows this. We had that moment where we were like, yep, we're friends now.
And we've been friends for a while.
Yes.
And by a while, we mean not just the past 5 years, but like a while.
And apparently I've been your mother in past lifetimes, so we know each other pretty well. Yeah.
So what are some of your soulmate stories?
I have had a number. Okay, so I'm going to pull one out from a long time ago. little Mychal is out there dancing her heart away. And so one of my I think a lot of my dance teachers have been, but specifically one in particular, her name was Candace. And Candace, she was really the first female ballet teacher I had growing up, and was really important to say that because all of my other teachers had been men, which has been great, but it's a completely, well, maybe not completely. For me, it was a different teaching style, and they were great at a lot of things, and they understood. They were excellent at teaching technique and mechanics, and that's also maybe outside of my body type, but because they saw my body type as working really well for a lot of things that they knew how to do, why I became so good at doing jumps and things like that. A lot of things that male dancers are more known for.
They're very athletic kind of.
Yeah, very athletic, right? And I have an athletic build, so that worked out for me in that. But it was really important for me to have a female teacher to give me also all the more feminine nuances and kind of teach me in the ways of, how to do things.
The graceful swan bit.
Correct, yeah. And she was somebody for me that made a huge impact on my life, like just even in life lessons. Even though she was only in my life for really about 4 years, 5 years, something like that. And she really saw my passion for what I was doing and worked with me on it to the point I'm going to get to the later part of the story here. So, all right, how she helped me change and help kind of define me as a person and how I kind of view life in general. And I may have shared this before, but here's the full story. Full story is, so I was doing a summer dance intensive, and this is my first summer going away on a summer dance intensive, and I got placed in the lowest level. I was not the youngest person going either, so I was kind of the oldest person in the class at the level that I was put in. I was so embarrassed. I was mortified to tell anybody that I had, that was what I, where I kind of position I was in, and I didn't want anybody to know. And so at the time you would write letters because otherwise a long distance phone call was very expensive. So
charged by the minute. Yes.
Yes. So I was writing letters. And so I wrote a letter to her to kind of tell her, kind of confide in her. I'm like, please don't tell anybody, but this is where they placed me, because she was very invested in.
She was your teacher.
Yeah, she was my teacher. She was the one who told me that doing these kinds of intensives were the next step for me and my training, what it is that I wanted to do. So this is how my next exposure in dance that I need to kind of place myself. And so kind of telling her how it was going. And so she wrote back the letter that I still have to this day. And her letter was, at the time, she was also frying some bigger fish. Let's just put it that way. She had been diagnosed with cancer, and she actually passed away a couple years later. And so she was dealing with that. She was giving me the lowdown on kind of what was going on with that. But her response to me about my situation was, she was a great coach in this way. She's like, look, you look young for your age. So it's going to be always easier for somebody to place you at a lower level because they can. So there's that. And also, you can take this as a gift to really focus on technique and really dive in deep and work hard on all those, because it's so that no matter whatever comes of the summer, that you will come out being a better dancer than you went in, and to really kind of put your head down and put your nose to the grindstone. And she says, but either way, I know that you're going to be great. She's like, I have a lot of faith in you. And I think that she saw a lot of promise in me. And she said, specifically, her saying was, I know that you have a great future ahead of you, not because you're the best dancer or the most talented dancer I've ever seen, but because I've seen you grit your teeth and go for things. And she's like, and that is half the battle, is doing that. She goes, I swear you have to, sorry for my language, you have to work so damn hard that you feel like your insides are coming out and there's nowhere else to go. And to really have this passion and drive to go towards something. And so I always think about that. Sorry, I'm going to get emotional, but I always think about that in life, that whenever there's something that I want to do, that I want to, if I really want it, need it, all of those things, if I have that kind of passion for it. Sorry, Suzanne went to go get me tissues. Thank you. That in general, to have that feeling for it. And so, because that's everything that she had ever, that's how she worked for everything herself. She was very talented. But at the same time, those are not all the ingredients that you need. It's not just talent, it's talent and work and all these kinds of things that go into it. And I have found that to be true for me to be successful at anything that I've really been successful in, that I really wanted to go for and strive for, was to kind of have that quality. And to see also that she had such a quality of her going through such major things at that time, and she would still laugh her way through everything and make fun of herself and, fun of the situation. And she always found lightness in the darkest places. And she never really gave up on life in that way. And so she made a huge impact on me. So I would consider her to be a soulmate.
Thank you for sharing. That's really deep.
Okay, so you.
So my most obvious soulmate is my husband. But I will say that looking back on the situation, I absolutely called him in. So my first book is, as Mychal knows, but
Yes.
you might not, gentle listener, is a love story. And it is a time travel story. So my characters both, spoiler alert, both end up in an ancient time. Egypt, who would have thought? And they find each other, and then they find each other on a deeper level as the story goes on, and then as the series goes on. And the qualities that the hero had were the qualities that I wanted in my life. That was the relationship that I wanted to have, that even though I was married, I did not have. And I think that long before I even considered that I could leave that marriage, I was dreaming of what I knew a relationship could be. Like I had the understanding of this is what it could be like between a man and a woman. And I had the comparison of being where I was and not being able to make that happen because spoiler alert, one person cannot make a relationship work.
Yeah.
And so after I was out of that and had some time to heal, then I met my husband, and the circumstances in which we met, it was kind of an instant, oh, you, but not necessarily being ready for it. And so the times that I have been the most emotional, neurotic, negative, awful, like in some ways, the relationship has brought out my most histrionic kind of emotions. And it has been the most extreme on the spectrum of being that I have been. But I think that that's because the caring is so deep and always has been. And so while I had no idea that, being with someone for 20 something years could be the way that it is, I also realized more and more. I remember a couple of years ago, maybe 10 by now, Kate Blanchett said, if you are with someone long enough, I may have already said this in an episode, you relate to them in every single way in the course of your relationship. You are, and then she just named all the different kinds of relationships you can have. And at the time, I just remember being like, I'm not sure about that. And looking back now, I'm kind of like, yeah, I can absolutely, when somebody's sick, you're the mother. When somebody, needs help. You're the sergeant, or the coach, or, the person who kicks them in the butt. I mean, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But that it's not static. It's always shifting. But the objective is, at least I think at this moment, that it's not, this is going to be the softest place for you. This is going to be the place where you grow the most.
Yeah.
And so in terms of soulmates being that combination, I would say, and maybe also, at least for me, the most extremes, like the most extreme joy, the most extreme anger, the most extreme in the course of our relationship. And so I think that's one of the things, is that a soulmate brings out your extremes, because it's trying to show you where the edges are, like where are the iron sharpens iron kind of thing. Like, that's stabby.
Yeah.
You need to work on that. Need a file over here.
Yeah.
And that is, and when I look back on, relationships with women I've had in my life, and I have had, as I think I've mentioned before, female relationships that have been betraying sorts of situations, and looking back and trying to find kind of where's the soulmatiness here, because I know it was there. Like, what were you showing me? What were you revealing to me? Where did I need to sharpen up or slow down or soften or whatever? And so I think for me, that's really kind of the ways that you see them.
Yeah.
And I think also something, for me anyway, soulmates are not necessarily for all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd have to say, so a lot of my female friends that I have, they're not all like versions of the same person. They each have very specific, I mean, they're just them, but I love that they are themselves totally and wholly. And I always admire and appreciate who they are as people, because I appreciate their insights and their perspective on things, because each one of them has a very distinct, different perspective. And that's partially why I go to them for certain things. Like that's how I kind of crowdsource my, like, let me tell you about this situation. I'm trying to figure out what I need to do. Like, how do you see this as from like another lens? You know what I mean? And I enjoy that. But I also, that there will be qualities that I appreciate in them, because I see them as, I hate to say lacking, but something that I don't have, right?
Contrast.
It's a contrast, and I appreciate seeing it in them as it not being something that I necessarily totally own. You know what I mean? And I like seeing it working in somebody else, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah.
So that being said, I don't talk to them all the time. Actually, because I've moved around so much in my life, I have a lot of friends that don't live where I live. And so I have friends that I still consider us to be very close friends, and or best friends. You might even say best friends, but we may talk, I don't know, once or twice a year, and that's over the phone. That's, I've definitely had those kinds of friends where it's like, you want to be friends now? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the very little kid kind of knock on the door. Can Michael come out and play? Yes. Can we be friends now? Okay, yes.
Yeah, now we're friends. Yes. Yeah.
They're very simple. So what are some of the more complicated soulmate relationships you can think of?
Oh, I mean, enemy friendships. Not friendships. They wouldn't be friendships. It'd be like maybe my bully growing up. That would be
my bully growing up was not a soulmate. No. Maybe a grand inquisitor in a past life, but not a soulmate. No. I really do think that she had some sort of chemical imbalance, because it was one of those people who, she'd like you at lunchtime.
Yeah.
But by the time school was out, maybe she had low blood sugar, but she was going to beat you up.
Okay.
So it was very
maybe if you just
disconcerting.
Kept snacks on you at all times.
I just didn't have
do you want some graham crackers?
The wisdom to know that. It was just, if she liked you at lunch, chances were you needed to get home real fast.
Oh. Maybe she was practicing the whole Godfather, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, legitimately scared of her.
Okay. Fair.
So, yes, my bully, not a soulmate. Your
Not-
bully?
Yes. Yeah, because it was a lot of, and I had some difficulties growing up, but I learned a lot. But I'd have to say, even all of those kinds of things that happened to me when I was younger, not to say that it taught me how to be on my own, but it did kind of, so that I wasn't being reliant on acceptance of other people or needing validation, right? To just be like, okay, it was a very early lesson for me that I still see a lot of adults learning over time. I was like, oh, well, I did that when I was very young. The whole, well, if I try to be like anybody else, that just is not going to work out for me. So all I can do is just be me. So at the very least, I'm going to be happier by just being me. And if people don't like it, then they don't have to hang around. Sorry. He'll be nice. I'm not going to be rude to anybody or anything like that. But at the same time, I'm not going to be like, you got glasses like that? Let me get glasses like that. You know what I mean? Like, in order to
And I just
feel.
don't know that ever even occurred to me.
What?
To try and be like anybody else.
I know. I think there's a lot of people that will try to get in with certain people.
I mean,
and
I
so
think I'm naturally a chameleon.
Yeah.
But I don't see it as, in almost every situation, I was, the irony, the balancing factor. I was the one who was going between all of the different cliques, not belonging to any of them, but not.
Yeah.
But this is far from soulmates.
Now you're learning all of how, Suzanne and Mychal growing up.
But in terms of soulmates that have been challenging, I would say it's only recently being a relative term, which that sentence doesn't even make sense. But my first husband, to kind of realize, no, absolutely a soulmate, because I needed to be able to completely remove from the situation of my heritage and my background, and the kind of, I think of it in terms of, when a cow is being put into
a chute
in order to like get their vaccinations or whatever. And it just, that's the way you're going. There is no other way. We're putting you in one way, closing it that way, opening at the other end. That's it. And it got me out of that chute.
Yeah.
And it has taken a long time to be able to appreciate that there was really no other way.
Yeah.
And so my forgiveness has in a way become really gratitude. There, lots of quote unquote negatives I can say, or I could remember, but the upshot is, in a way, he really freed me.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, the work of a soulmate.
Same. Yeah. So same. My ex-husband, we don't need to get into the nitty gritty. If you were to put it in a snapshot, which makes everything sound so much nicer than the experience of it, I have said it before when I was in my marriage, and I still think that it's true, that he taught me how to love. And I mean that in like all kinds of ways. So loving when things are not necessarily presenting themselves in a loving way, right? So if things are not, if you're not being treated well, somebody's not being nice to you, but to still respond in love, like how to tap into that, to be in that kind of
be the bigger.
Yeah, to be in relationships, sometimes you have to really tap into working on in the love that you have, right? In order to give that and share that, and what that means, and how that is, where it's healthy and where it's not healthy. And it really helped me explore all that and really kind of define boundaries as well, right? As far as at what point is like, can I still love you? But sometimes loving you doesn't necessarily mean that we're together. Sometimes it means that I'm letting you be yourself by yourself and me being over here.
And I feel like mine was just a great contrast of, no.
Yeah.
So what's the next letter?
So that's ending on a heavy topic.
Yeah, I was about to say, of course, the best soulmates are the ones that have 4 feet and little tails. And if you want to cry over that episode, you can go back to
L for love.
There you go.
L for love for the Oscar man.
espresso bean. Tea.
Tea.
Tea money. Sorry.
Or actual tea is the beverage. That could be
there you go.
Pretty woo.
Yes, especially since we're getting ready to start with the whole
nettle.
Get through Aries with nettle tea.
Yeah. So anyway, all right. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much for listening. We so appreciate you.
Yes.
You are some of our soulmates because you are helping us change and grow and expand. And I think we hope that maybe some of this is being used for that for you too.
Yeah. You're giving us the space to share. So thank you.
So talk to you later.
All the woo.
A to Z.